want to show you the pen tool. Now, by its name, you might think that it's another mark making tool like the brush, but it's not. It works differently. It is more like a companion to selections. You're completely in the driver's seat. You're controlling the line that you make around the thing you want to isolate. And the great thing about a path using the pen tool is that it's called a vector shape. And what that means is that you can continually manipulate the shape that you've created. So, when you're using the brush tool, you have to make the mark perfect every time, and that's hard. With the pen tool, you can draw a line, and then it gives you little controls on it that you can continue to move around until you get the perfect line. So let me show you what I'm talking about. The pen tool is down here on the toolbar. It's got this old-timey pen icon. I'm gonna click on that and zoom in just a bit on this image. There are a number of ways that we could choose to isolate the background. It's quite a different color, but the pen tool is going to allow me to really follow the shape of this figure. And what you see first when you click with the pen tool, keep in mind you just click first. You don't hold down the mouse button like you did with the brush, just click once. So it's going to lay down the first point. The second point is going to have a line coming off of it. Now I'm holding the mouse button down. When I drag out, it's changing the curvature of this line. This takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's really cool. Now I let go of the mouse button. I'm going to click again, drag out a bit. And you see how using these handles, I'm able to change the curvature of the line very slowly, accurately, and naturally to fit the edge of the shape that I want. If I click and I don't drag out, it just lays down another point. There are no handles. And I can click again, and that draws a straight line. Can you imagine trying to outline this shape using like the brush? With a mouse? It would be really hard. And what this allows us to do is to outline the shape and then say, if I don't like something, if this line doesn't work, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit by hitting Command+. I can add another point on that line. So now, to add one more control to this process, we can move these points after we've already laid them down. Hold down Command, and you see how that changes to an arrow. With Command held down, I can grab that point, and I can move it. And I can grab every point and move them. And additionally, with Command held down, I can move these handles to further still craft the curvature of that line. The other really cool thing about a path is that it's not fixed. You can always delete points from the path too. So if I hold down Command and drag this marquee over these points, look how these are selected now because they're blue. And these are not because they're white. So with those selected, I can just hit delete and they disappear. So what I'm going to do is outline this skirt, but really quickly I'm going to show you some of the options that we have in the bar up here for our pen tool. So keep this on path for now. You can also create a shape, and you have these tools to make a selection, a mask, or a shape, and I'll show you how those work in a minute. Right now, I want you to keep exclude overlapping shapes active when you're creating paths. These are called path operations, and what they'll do when you start creating more complex paths with multiple paths, you'll tell Photoshop how you want them to interact with each other, but for now, this is the most flexible and the default, so stick with that. These are the alignment tools. If you have multiple paths, these alignment tools work the same way as the layer alignment and distribution tools work. And this, if you have multiple paths, you can tell it to move in front of or behind another path. Here in the path options, there's some really useful things. So you can change the thickness of the line that's displayed to show you your path in case you can't see it. And you can change the color. So depending on the background of an image, if I'm working with the default blue path, if my image is really blue, I might not be able to see this. This is a recent thing that Adobe updated in Photoshop, and it's really, really useful because you can change your path color. The single coolest option in all of this stuff is, to me, rubber band. What this feature does is it adds a little line to your pen tool, which always follows it. And so you can always see how that line is going to lay down on your next point. It's a small thing, but it is hugely beneficial to a pen tool workflow. So I'm going to keep outlining this skirt because I want to isolate this element and do something to it. I may not even know exactly what yet, but I know that the first step in manipulating an image or parts of an image is to isolate it in some way. So it's always a good first step. And see, even if I'm still active on this last point, I can always drop back in, add a new point, hold down Command to get that selection arrow and move it, and then come back and continue to make my path. And to close a path, you have to always get back to the end point and close it. And you see now I don't have a line off of it. The entire path has blue points on it. That means that I have successfully closed and finished that path. For laying down a path to isolate an object in your scene is called clipping. So I've got that clipped out, isolated, but where is the path? I mean, I can see it here in my image, but all I see is my background layer here. So where's the path? It doesn't live in the layers palette, it lives in the paths palette. And if you don't see this paths palette up on your screen, just go in here to Window and Paths and turn that on. It'll pop up. So just a couple things about the paths palette. It's similar to the layers palette because I can actually create more paths in here, and I'll show you why I'd want to do that. But first, notice that this one has a different name than the other two, because the other two I created by hitting the New Path button. This one was automatically created when I started laying down points with the pen tool inside the image. I'm going to click off and deselect all these paths. Notice you can't see the path that I made anymore because this work path is no longer selected. So it'll disappear if it's not selected. But see what happens when I just start doing a new path without having anything active. Did you see that path that I had created for the skirt? It disappeared. This is a very, very important thing when you're using the pen tool. If you just start making a shape in here with the pen tool and you haven't changed this name from work path to something else that you choose, it's going to delete your previous path. So I'm going to undo that and watch my previous path will come back, and I'm going to double click on that and just name it path 3. And now if I decide to create a new path, it automatically creates a work path for me. So you can see I've got the skirt all clipped out here, and I've got that on path 3. I've got 2 additional empty paths created. Why would I want more than one path? Well, for me, because I like to keep all of my individual isolations on different path layers, and I may isolate multiple things in any given image so that I can manipulate them all independently. So I'm going to click on path 1, and I'm going to go up here and isolate this hairspray model. And if you look down at the paths palette, you'll see that this path is being executed on path 1. And so I've created this shape here, and I still have a little bit more of the bottle to grab. So I can keep adding paths to create shapes that aren't necessarily connected to each other. So I can have multiple individual paths in one path layer to completely isolate an object that I'm interested in. So if I hold down Command, that's my completed path. So it's got two shapes in it, but I think of it as one individual path because it's applied to one individual object in the scene. So you can imagine if you're really doing a lot of manipulations to an image, you might have like 6 or 7 different paths in here. So it's important to keep those kind of tidy. I have one path, path 2, that I didn't do anything to, so I'm just going to drag that down and delete it. Path 1 is the hairspray bottle, so I'm going to name it hairspray. And path 3 is the skirt. So double clicking on the name of the path will let you edit it. So now we've got this nice little library of isolations. These are going to stay with this image forever unless we delete them. So as I'm working to do my retouching or color grading, I can always come back here and use these shapes that I've created. They're like an investment in your image manipulations. Once you've made them, you can always use them. And you can use them to direct all different kinds of manipulations to your image. So what we have to do, the next step in order to actually change something in the image, is turn these into masks.